Bonjour, it's Claire, and welcome and thanks for listening to the Integrally Alive podcast, where we explore resilience and how to spark a life and go from alive-ish to alive. And today I'm with Monique DeBose. Hi, Monique. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Claire. I'm happy to be here with you.
Well, I'm very excited for that. And Monique is an award-winning singer-songwriter and playwright. She has performed across the globe and recently for Quincy Jones. She has released 2 albums to great critical acclaim and will release her third, well, actually just 1 month from now, the 27th of September. Yeah, the Sovereign One. She has a bachelor's in applied mathematics and holds a master's degrees in spiritual psychology and is trained at the Groundlings Comedy Theater, which I totally love. I believe we need more people with seemingly non-linear curriculums. So I love yours.
Well, here I am.
And she's also a mom, raising 2 conscious, loving boys. And she didn't sing in public until she was 18 years old. And in her own words, was terrified. And today she coaches people to unleash their authentic voices. She supports individuals and organizations to gain clarity in who they are and what they are here to do. And she supports people to use their small voice to find and express their big voice out into the world. So let's dive in. I'm sure everyone now is curious about the story behind this change. Like today you are completely self-assured and confident. It's even like difficult to believe you were even shy at some point in your life. So what's your story?
Okay, well, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. And it is very nonlinear, which is so funny. I think if I just take it to that level now, I think we're all on a journey when we come onto this planet. And things are set up for us, I believe, so that we can really become who we're meant to be and work on the things we're physically born into our bodies to actually work on. So for me, I think I just really started off as shy and unassured of who I was and what I was to be on the planet. So I always knew that I wanted to be a performer, and I always knew it was so important that people got seen. Those were the 2 things that were really driving forces for my whole life. I always cared if I saw somebody who seemed like they weren't being seen, that was really important to me. And I always knew that there was this joy and this excitement of exploring the entire range of the human emotion. And that to me was really exciting. And that really translated beautifully into performance and being on a stage. So somehow I found a way to just marry those 2. But I didn't always know that that was what I wanted to do. And then when I knew those were the things I wanted to do, I didn't know how to do them. So I've had such an interesting journey of, being raised by very domineering, not in a negative way, but just very clear that you are going to college, you are going to study math or science, you are going to get a job in the workforce, you are going to be safe and secure. And that was their real goal and intention for me. So I was on that path. And so each step was, standing in myself, becoming more and more sovereign around, wait, that's not exactly what I'm here to do. So I think I'm a jack of all trades. I won't say master of none, but I'm a jack of all trades. I know how to learn any and everything, and I'm curious about any and everything. And I think that's part of my work as well, just really staying the course of making sure people feel seen and making sure I'm exploring and experiencing all the human range of emotions. And that's performance for me and coaching for me at this point.
Yeah, actually I loved, so I was in your workshop where you presented a part of your show, Mila Tomate, and then it turned into a workshop, and that was beautiful things. We will talk about this later, but I loved the way you were putting together math and all these beautiful things in singing. You were talking about the raising awareness about race and what it is to be to live in a multi-race society. And it was so interesting to see how you mingle math into that and how it just feels so natural.
It did. And I feel like it wasn't a big stretch for me when it was time to write the show. I just knew the equations were going to be a part of it because my brain is in addition to being a very free-form brain, it's also extremely binary, which is, I mean, hilarious in itself. So it is always trying to figure things out and make sense of things, which I think most human brains do. I just have the skills of mathematics to use that as an overlay for what we're all trying to do. Yeah, it was wonderful, and it didn't feel like a stretch at all. And I'm still sometimes looking at those equations saying, how can I really solve this? Which I know is impossible, but still curious.
So when did you realize, okay, this you always knew you wanted to be seen and to be on stage, but when did you realize, yes, this is what I'm going to do?
Well, when I was 18, as you said in my intro, that was the first time I sang publicly, and it was in a vocal improv workshop, which I've now gone on to start leading myself. But before that, I used to sing at home, like I was on a stage. Like I just knew I was such a great performer, in the privacy and the comfort of my own bedroom. But it was just something that I loved, and it activated something inside my body whenever I saw a great performance or was touched by a great performance. And I knew that I wanted to be a part of that. But I knew it was going to be a career when I made a choice to leave the track I was on, which was, finished college, went and got a job in corporate America. And I knew after the first week, literally the first week, I knew I had a very clear thought, this is not my life. Like it just it was spoken to me, or I spoke it to myself. It was, this is not my life. And so from that moment forward, I spent a year at that company learning and growing. But I also knew after 1 year, I was going to be complete. And I was going to make that, leap of either going to New York or to Los Angeles to start pursuing and learning and training to be a performer. And that's what I did. I moved to LA, which was my home. So I felt more comfortable making that leap here.
And okay, so that's interesting. So that at that point, just when you began working in it, you realized, no, that's not for me, and this is not the life I have inside of me. This is the life someone created for me, but I can create another life.
Right. That was the first time I had that thought. And I think it was also helpful to see the people who were working, who were career employees. I looked and, probably not having the full picture at all, but just having, a 22-year-old mind. I was like, oh no, I am not going to be that person at 40. I mean, just some of the coworkers I saw, I just thought there's got to be more for me. Obviously everybody has their own journey. But I made that choice. Like my father was very upset with me because, he came, he's an African-American man who came from the segregated South. One, education was key to advancing, but the advancement meant getting a great job at a stable company that paid you great money, which I had all those things. So in his consciousness that I had done it, and why would I ruin it now to go follow a dream? And I said, Dad, I'm not happy at this job. He's like, what does that have to do with anything? And so that was, that was a huge difference in terms of like mindset for me and my dad at that point in life. He's obviously, well, not obviously, he's come around a while ago saying, I'm so proud of you. And I don't know what you do, but I'm proud of you. And to me, that was a really big deal as well. And it justified something inside for that little girl who is still worried that she maybe wouldn't have made or didn't make the right decision.
Yeah. And actually, that's a decision that many people never take, or take like 20 years after that or 30 years after that. Why do you think we have such a hard time stepping into our power and creating the life we want?
Well, I think that's just it. The word power. We have a funny relationship with power. Power is an outside force. That's what we've been taught for so much of our existence. And so stepping into our power, I think if you said that, I don't really side of me who are powerful and who run things, but I'm not powerful. Is our connection okay?
Oh, can you? Yeah, I just lost you for a second. You were talking
So I'll
about
just say
external. Yeah, it was really interesting actually. External power versus internal power.
Right, and I was saying most people aren't conscious that they have power inside themselves. We really come onto this planet, most of us, I'll speak for myself and some of the clients I work with, we have this idea that power doesn't source from within us. Like we can possibly take some powerful steps, but we are not power and we do not create our lives. That's just a mindset that a lot of us come into the world with, or are taught, because that's what we've been taught from our family and previous generations. And so there is this real shift in consciousness around creating your life. There's a created life and a reported on life. I think those are the two distinctions I've heard. Like things just happen, this happened, versus this is what I'm creating for myself, or this is what I'm creating for my, my sense of being today. So I don't think a lot of us know that we have that choice. And it's also a huge leap of faith in the sense that, I don't know that I'm going to make what I was making when I was 22. I think I was making like $42,000 a year, which was a great opportunity back, when I graduated from college and when I was 22 years old. And, but I didn't care. There was something inside me that was just so hungry for actually feeling expressed, actually following what was whispering in my ear. And to me, that has been so much more fulfilling than having a paycheck and a false sense of security. Now, don't get me wrong. We all need food to eat. We all need money to pay for where we live. And, but I was willing to risk that at that point in my life because there was a movie. Okay. Sorry. There was a movie I saw with Johnny Depp. Or he was the pirate. I forgot what his name is. Yes. They made series of them now.
Pirates des Caraïbes. Yeah.
Oh, Pirates of the Caribbean. Yes, Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's it.
And one of the ghost pirates once said to him, I have all the riches in the world. I have all the most delicious food in the world, but I can't taste any of it. I can't enjoy any of it. And that's what I feel like so many of us do. We walk around collecting and stuffing ourselves with food, but we don't really actually enjoy it. And we can't, because it's coming from a place of, this is what I need to be secure and happy, but without checking in, what do I actually need to be secure and happy? So that's what I'm following. That's my North Star. What do I actually need to be fulfilled? And it's scary at times. And I've come up against so many fears and struggles and insecurities. And this is the life I'm choosing to live. And it's been very fulfilling.
Yeah, I can believe that. And what were some resistances you had to overcome when you went to LA and decided, okay, from now on, this is the life I choose? So that was just the first step, right? That
was literally the first step. I mean, I had to get over my fear of going to open mics, which is, where you just go up and sign up to sing a song and in public. I had to get over my fear of being, enrolling in a course that would at the end be create a showcase for a show. I had to figure out how to make an album when I felt like, one, I didn't sing like the people on the charts, and I didn't look like the people on the charts. And I was comparing my insides to their outsides. So I had no idea, but it has been such a journey of, and I'm still on the journey. I probably will be on this journey until I take my last breath in this body, but I was on the journey and continue to be on the journey of coming back to, no, but what's great and unique and amazing about you, Monique? Yeah, you can't sing like Mariah Carey, or you can't sing like Whitney Houston, but what do you bring, and what is your intention in what you're doing? So it's always coming back to those questions for myself, because I will get blown out of the game and destroyed if I like stay in the comparison world, which I did for a long time. So that was part of the journey too, of understanding that comparing myself is a losing game. And I actually wrote a song about that. That's so funny. I haven't recorded it, but I just remembered, oh yeah, there's a song I wrote about comparing myself to others. So what are some of the other pieces of resistance? Am I good enough? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? But if I was supposed to be doing it, how come I haven't, quote unquote, made it yet? All these questions show up. So it's part of the journey has also been learning to just be with the insecurity and be with the questioning of the self, and knowing that that is present, and that means nothing beyond it is present. It's not an indicator of stopping or not stopping.
Yeah, it can even be showing the way to something that's really important for me.
Will you say that one more time? I lost you again.
Yeah, I was saying that sometimes when we have these doubts, it is even an indicator of, okay, if I have these fears and these doubts, this is something that's really important for me. And that probably at the end of this tunnel, there's something big and something that's worth going into this, whatever it is. And that's why we resist so much. We don't know what's after that. But
that's so true, Claire. That's really true. That's wonderful. Yeah. So true. And that's part of the journey too, remembering just that very fast. Because we can see it's, and we don't understand, and we don't know, and we don't have a guarantee. And it's like, yes, I have to remember that I won't have a guarantee, but there is something that I will be learning or gaining from this experience.
On the way, yeah. And it feels like you're, what you're sharing about finding your voice and so on, it kind of culminated into Mulatto Math. Am I right? Like, it seems to be the moment where you really put your story and who you were into the world, literally, on stage.
Yeah. Yes. And also the album that's coming out. I mean, I wrote both of those projects simultaneously. And before, why are you writing all of this
okay.
now? Like, why don't you do one and then the other? But I knew something was open. There was like, I had access to some really deep, profound truths. And I wasn't sure that I would remember to like stay in that space when it was time for the next project. So I did them both simultaneously. And they're both really great expressions of like deep, authentic, real truth. But yes, that was, as I reflect upon the show now, you know, being on the other side of, you know, having a really successful run of it here in LA, and I'm actually taking it to New York September 15th, which is exciting.
Wow, yeah.
Being on the other side, you know, having some of the performances under my belt and having to stand on the stage while people, you know, sit in the audience and experience it or have their judgments of it, or are moved deeply by it. I'm seeing like we create so that we can take ourselves to our very next place. So I'm very curious now, what's on the other side. I know I'm like getting to the other side of this show, and I'm very curious to see like what's next, because for so long it had been such a huge part of like of my identity. All the energy and the emotions that are attached and expressed in that show, they were like my living, breathing companions for so long. And since doing the show, it's as if they don't need me as much, or I'm aware that they're not the whole of the story. They're part of the story. So I'm really curious to see what's happening next, creatively and just in life. But yes, absolutely. They were really culminating pieces of authentic expression. Because what I feel like, and I see this with so many of my clients, things run us when we don't give them an outlet. There's a wonderful book that my sons have. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about the dragon in the house, or it's not a dragon, or it's not a real dragon. And it's a story about a little boy who sees a dragon, a tiny little dragon, one day when he wakes up. And he goes down and he tells his mom, "Mom, there's a dragon in my room." And his mom's like, "No, that dragon doesn't exist. That's not real." And so he thinks, "Oh, Mom must be right." So he starts ignoring it. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it ends up taking over the entire house. And the point of the story, obviously, is when you actually spend the time and energy and are respectful to acknowledge what is actually present, that's really all it needs, usually. Or that's a huge piece of it, to not let it become something that takes over your entire experience. So I feel like with a lot of the clients I work with, they have things that they just haven't been willing to look at. And I create a container and a space that allows them opportunity to actually look at it in a way that feels safe enough. Because it never feels safe, but safe enough. And it's really beautiful watching what happens. And I know this fully, and I know I help people with this because I've done that in my own journey with this show. Like, that to me was a huge dragon, and putting it out, the dragon has continued to like reduce in size, which is really amazing.
Yeah, wow, I love what you are sharing. That's a lot of what I'm doing with my clients. Is sometimes I say I tame elephants. And I'm talking about elephants in the room, these elephants where they are there and they're so big and you still don't want to see them, but they are governing all of your life. You're just living your life according to that. Whereas the moment you decide to face it, it just shrinks and allows so much space for life. And actually, I know, because you share it on stage at this workshop, that you were facing a tumor as well, and that was a part of this journey, if I understood well. In working, writing this show was also a part of this journey of facing this illness. Yeah. And to me, it's really so powerful, because I do believe, and I do see in my clients, that whenever we suppress something, it stays there and it stays in us, and then it tries to find a way to express itself, and many times it becomes a illness or chronic illness or pain. So really interesting.
Yeah, that thank you for bringing that up, because I haven't forgotten, but you just reminded me, of course, this Mulatto Math, Summing Up the Race Equation in America, and The Sovereign One, the album, both, like I said, I was working on both projects simultaneously. But before that, I was given the diagnosis of something called a desmoid tumor in my abdominal wall. And doctors, were saying, gotta be on pharmaceuticals for the rest of your life. And that didn't feel right for me. And obviously, I'm not giving medical advice, but for me. And then I went to second opinions, and they were like, you got to cut it out right now. And that didn't feel right for me. And so I have, some skill sets I use for myself, obviously, and with clients. But I started having a dialogue with the tumor. And that was some of the most interesting and revelatory work, because what it was saying to me when I actually sat down and listened to it, it was telling me, you have been holding your expression. You have been holding things back that you need to express that are actually yours, because you're worried about what other people will think, or worried about hurting people that you love. And we can't do this anymore. Like, you have to start expressing who you are in the world. and it was profound. And that was really a big piece of what started the journey for me. Yeah. So thank you for bringing that back up. Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Beautiful. Super interesting. And actually, I wanted to ask you, because I remember, I mean, Melafomat is a lot about your story. And of course, to some extent, it's your family's story. So how did you deal with deciding what to say, what to keep for yourself? Did you feel like they could feel hurt or upset by what you would say?
Absolutely. It's really interesting. I shared the script with my husband before I put it up, because there's some pieces about our marriage in the show.
Mm.
And he was very supportive. You know, it was challenging at times, but he was very supportive, and has come to every single one of the shows, which is amazing. And with my family, there have been, I'm just hearing a truck. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah. Okay. And with my family, it has been a journey, honestly. My mother has felt really hurt by the show. My father, I think, has felt seen by the show in a way that maybe he didn't know that he needed to be seen in. And for my mother, it's been an interesting dance, because she's one of my biggest supporters. And so she's come to the show a couple of times, and it's been challenging for her, because I do talk about the dynamic of mother-daughter. I talk about the dynamic of white mother in America with a, mixed race daughter, and the feeling like I wasn't, like parts of me got missed, or not taken into account. But it's created wonderful conversation where we've really revealed and gotten closer in many ways, but it's also created, I think, a public hurt. And that, I think, is really, I have a mother who is very loving and very interested in being perceived in a way that she dictates, which we all, a lot of us do that and have that desire. And so I feel like she's, I think she's in a space of like dealing with that, feeling hurt, feeling perhaps out of depth, and not knowing how to like move beyond this. And it's just an interesting part of the journey. And that was something that the tumor said to me. It's like, you cannot, for your own health, you cannot be worried about what other people are going to experience. If it's in integrity and in service to like what the essence of this project is, you have to share it. And so it's been a journey, I'm still on it. And there's some days where I feel like, nope, this is absolutely the best thing. And then some days I'm like, did I need to do this? But I'm still moving forward, because this show serves so deeply. So it serves beyond me and beyond my mother, beyond my family. So it's important for me to keep sharing it.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, I've seen it in the workshop I attended, and I totally resonate with that, because it's something that kept me behind in a way to begin this whole Integrally Alive, not only the podcast, but the whole project. It's because it's a lot of it is about my story, and it's my family story. So I was struggling with that a lot. For me, the change was when I realized there was such a denial in my family, and I was really upset with that. And I was like, okay, this needs to end. Not only, like you say, that day became much, much bigger than just me and my family. It became that is hurting people, and it just needs to stop. So maybe they will feel hurt or upset or whatever, but there is a bigger thing at stake in that. And yeah, like you say, sometimes I'm not so sure, but I don't regret anything, and I would I won't go back for sure. But actually, I was attending this workshop. So there was this extract from your show Melatomat, and then we went into sharing about what you were talking about this in this show. But then it goes way farther than that. And you took us into some kind of exercises, and I witnessed it, strangers being instantaneously authentic and answering to deeply personal questions in a very total transparent way.
Yeah.
Where in everyday life they might hide behind excuses or white lies, and it didn't happen then. So what is your magic? What did you do to make it possible?
First of all, thank you. I appreciate
because
that.
This was
acknowledgement. Yeah.
I want to say that this was not a long workshop. It was I think 2 hours or something. So on the span of like 2 days.
Yeah, I think it was probably.
Yeah, it was maybe 1 hour and a half. Or,
hour and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you have 2 days, you can work, into making the people like feeling safe and so on the first day, and then the second day you go deeper. But in 1 hour.
Here's the secret. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
What I know to be true is that everybody is looking for connection, whether it be to another human being or, more importantly, to themselves. We're all wanting to see ourselves in a way that feels safe. And so I think my magic, if we're going to really just say that, I like that, that's fun, was that with this show and with the album as well, I believe, and we'll see as people start, as it comes out, I give everything. It's almost as if, and when I was writing this show, I had this thought recur over and over. This is either going to change conversations for people, or this is a suicide mission. It was one or the other in my mindset, very binary. And I realized, in a way, it's not one or the other. It's both. I had to let pieces of myself die. Like I had to let go of parts of myself, like my pride, or my wanting to look good, or my desire to be seen as this, put together, beautiful woman. I had to be willing to let that go in order to change people's experiences. And so I think that's part of what makes it magical. And it's also in the form of theater, as in the album is a form of like music. It's something that is not threatening to us as a race, as humanity, because art and theater it feels safe. But to me, good art, good theater is something that makes you think and changes the cells in your body. And so I think that's what both these pieces that I've done do. So people coming in feeling like safe to experience. And then what they experience is somebody who is very willing to be so vulnerable and put all her cards on the table. And then somebody who can hold the space to really facilitate others doing the same right there in the moment. I feel like that is the magic, having those three skill sets. But also, I think there's a fourth piece. People, yes, we all have the desire to be connected, but we also have to have a willingness. And I felt like that room, there was a willingness. And actually, even at the beginning, if the willingness is not there, just going through the process of those 3 steps of coming to art, watching somebody be extremely vulnerable, and having somebody masterfully, facilitate something, that just invites willingness. So that to me, and that can happen, I honestly believe that can happen in 20 minutes, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, so true. I really believe that we all, I totally agree on you, like we all need connection, and we all are looking for connection. And when we see someone being vulnerable enough so we can, in this process, feel connected not only to that person but also to ourselves, then it just happens naturally. You don't need to force anything. Yeah, beautiful. Oh, What is one thing you wish someone told you back? Like if your old self, your now today self would be able to come back in the past and say something, one piece of advice for your old self, not daring yet to change, what would you say?
Oh, that's a great question. I would educate myself on a truth that we're all divine beings having a human experience, that we choose or we chose the life we walked into. And I don't mean it in a sense of like, oh, if you're suffering, that's what you chose. It's not that. But we chose the life we walked into because our soul is here to work that out. And so to me, suffering or not suffering, it's like it changes everything into, oh, I'm at choice with this, or oh, this is in service to me learning some things. Because I think I walked around for a lot of time just feeling like a victim, feeling like things were happening to me. So that's what I would share with myself. And that also, I'm so much greater and have so much more capacity than I'll ever think I do. That's something I would tell myself. The capacity I think I have is minimal compared to the capacity that actually exists here.
Yeah, so true. And it feels like the only way to actually believe that is walking towards it. That's why it's so scary, I guess, because we can know that, but it's not enough. We need to feel it. And the only way to do that is going towards that. And it feels so scary when you don't know what's coming up.
And then that's where one of the skill sets that I share with clients comes into me, because it's like 3-foot toss. You know, we could try and, throw something 20 feet away and try and hit a target 20 feet away. But why not let ourselves have 3-foot tosses? Just 1 foot in front of the other. And let's acknowledge the success and the accomplishment of that. And then, just continue taking 3-foot tosses so that the confidence builds. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my last and perfect question, what makes you feel alive?
Great sex. I was going to say I'm joking, but no, that is part of what makes me feel alive. Dancing, laughing, singing, playing and being silly. Yeah, those are the things. Being of service is also something that really just feeds me. It makes it, yeah. So those are the things. Yeah.
I love it. So many people mistake being childlike with being childish. So I love what you say about playing. We can be playing, and in a kind of, I love it when I'm in the state of this curiousness that children have.
Yeah.
Of, hey, this is the first time I'm doing this. I don't know what it's going to be like, but let's find out, without any expectations. And I love it when I'm in that state, and I wish that I would, and we could be in that state all the time, because it's a wonderful way to learn, to live, to be alive, kind of.
Yeah.
So love it. What you say about playing. Yeah. And where can the listeners find you?
Well, my website, MoniqueDeBose.com, will take you to the coaching things that I do, and then MoniqueDeBosemusic.com shares the music part of me, and then mulattomath.com is about the show. But all of that can be found on the MoniqueDeBose.com website.
Monique DeBose.
And
I'll put all these links on the show notes. Yeah.
if you're willing, if I can do a quick little plug, is that possible?
Sure.
Thank you. My album, The Sovereign One, is for everybody who loves great music, who specifically is really the album. I wrote the album to basically call back all the parts of myself that I had lent out, given away. I'm becoming this sovereign entity. And so the project is available now for pre-order on iTunes. And if you go to iTunes and just put in Monique DeBose, you'll see that project. And I'd so graciously ask that you pre-order it if this is airing before September 27th, so that it can chart on the day it's released. Because all the pre-orders count for the first day sales, which I didn't know until somebody told me. So yeah, that would be a great gift for me and a great gift for you as well.
Well, and yeah, because I heard your music and it's beautiful. So.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Monique, for being with us today and sharing your story and your wisdom. And thank you, everyone, for listening. If you like what you hear, leave a comment on the blog. If you don't like what you hear, leave a comment on the blog and subscribe to the podcast. Till next time, and until then, spark alive and be integrally alive. Bye.